Hey, and welcome back to Her Restored Spirit podcast. My name is Tammy, and I am so glad you're here. I just came back from a whirlwind trip. It was a kind of one of those once in a lifetime trips that we went. My guy and his three kids, as well as me and my two kids, as well as Kyle's parents. We went to Germany. We went to Germany. Kyle is part German, he's half German, and so we went to introduce his kids to some of his aunts, his, like, great aunts and cousins, as well as kind of, allow our families to get to know each other more, and, well, my kids, just let them experience another area of the world. We spent a little bit of time in Germany last time we traveled, but we didn't really, spend a lot of time there. We spent a lot of time in Greece and in, the Netherlands and in Belgium. Well, this trip we went to Germany. We popped over to France for a couple of hours, enough to do to eat some French pastries, drink some French wine, and, well, then we got the heck out of there. And then we went to Belgium for a week, which was phenomenal. Just going I have some of my best friends in the whole world, some of um, they're missionaries who've lived there for a long time. I One time I need to share more about their journey, because I met them in California when I lived there. They came back for a few years so their boys could go to high school and graduate school, and before they went back to Belgium. So I met them while we were in California, and there's just an instant connection there. And so being able to go and see them and stay with them, and yeah, all seven of us, the four of Kyle's family, my three of mine, stayed at their little place in Belgium, which was phenomenal. And just spending time together. And I had a lot of time to rest, a lot of time to think about, what do I want? What am I the A few weeks ago we talked about how I'm getting in my own way. And I listed 10 ways that I got in my own way and that a lot of people I know do. And I hope that you sat with that and took time. I hope you did the homework. I hope that you actually gave yourself that permission and that freedom to look to see what and how you were getting in your own way and why. What is it stopping you from? What are you gaining by getting in your own way? And it would be really mean of me to stop there. Like, that's why. So, this episode is what to do to get out of your own way. Because if we stop there and just listed all the ways that we're getting our own way, then what is that going to do for us? What is that going to accomplish? It's just going to make us feel terrible. Like, I look at those ways and I actually have a list of them now. So I'm like, okay, in this moment, how am I getting in my way? Um, But that's not good enough. Like, we have to take another step. We have to go a little further. We have to take that moment, that brave moment that you recognize that, and we need to go further. So I have a little tool for you, and it's what to do when you get out of your own way. To get out of your own way, well, you need to be rescued. So the first one is you need to recognize until we sit and we stop and we recognize what's happening. When you're feeling like out of alignment, when you're feeling stressed and overworked or overwhelmed or anxious, use that as an indicator. Use that as an indication that you need to step back and actually think, okay, what's going on in my life? Why am I feeling this way? Because it doesn't happen naturally. That's not your normal state. And if it has become your normal state, then really we need to get curious on why and how is that serving you? And what are you stopping yourself from? So recognize, okay, so you recognize you're procrastinating. Okay, well, I don't want to procrastinate anymore. What do I do? And the next step is you like examine, what are you procrastinating from? What are you using to procrastinate? What are you looking for? Like, what feeling are do you just want to sit and do nothing? Because sometimes that's not bad, especially as us moms, we are really busy all the time. And I just did a workshop about removing guilt from your everyday life. And if you're not part of our membership, the Discover You membership community, so far we've talked about core values and we've talked about removing guilt. This coming month in July, we're going to talk about some of our core fears and why it's important to acknowledge, to know them, and what to do about them. Because once we want knowledge is power. Once we are aware, then we can do something different about it. And that's why recognizing the R, examine, sit down and actually like what are you procrastinating from? What are you procrastinating with? And I'm just using procrastination, but you can use it with any of those things, like however you're getting in your way. If you're using it as if you're not if you're settling for mediocre, examine why. What thought there? What belief is behind that? Why don't you believe that you should have an extraordinary life? And extraordinary is just extraordinary. Like it doesn't mean that you are diving off cliffs and jumping out of airplanes. Like it just means that you love your life and you're living it to the fullest. So if you're not doing that, examine why. What is getting in the way? What are the beliefs behind it? What are the thoughts behind it? What are you feeling? Now, feelings lie, which is what gets us out of this, it gets us in this trouble in the first place because we feel overwhelmed. So we go to procrastination. We feel undeserving. And so we numb out. We feel like we have to, like we're not doing enough. So we overserve and we don't take care of ourselves. Feelings lie. So we need to give them the respect that they deserve, identify them, feel the feeling for a moment, but then use it as a, like get curious about it. Use it as an indicator of why am I feeling this way? How do I want to feel? Okay, so far we have recognize and examine. The next is S, which is sit in silence. This one is so hard for so many. We are afraid of our own thoughts. We're afraid of sitting and being bored. But honestly, boredom is so important. How many times do you hear your kids say, "Oh, I'm bored." And you're like, "Good, you should be. Go figure out something to do." Boredom allows for creativity. If you want something different, something has to change. The only way to change it, the only way is to recognize it and then get in silence. Allow yourself to be bored for a moment. Allow yourself to listen to your own thoughts because so many times you already have the answer. You already have the answer. You just, for whatever reason, don't want to admit it. When you do admit it, it's going to feel so much better. So sit in silence. Get quiet with God. Get quiet with yourself, with your thoughts, but sit. Sit in it for a little bit. The next one is C, cut out expectations. What expectations are surrounding this thing that you have recognized and that you're examining, and now you're sitting in silence and listening to your own thoughts and allowing God to direct your path? What expectations are there? What are you putting on yourself? What are others putting on you? What are your friends? What are your family? Um, what is society? What are expectations that no longer belong there? This one is huge, huge for me because there's so many times that I recognize that I was putting expectations on myself that were from other people, but they didn't expect that. They didn't even that's not even what their main they hadn't they didn't care, or it wasn't the expectation to begin with. That's not what they were looking for, not the result they were looking for. So recognizing and looking at what okay, sorry about that. I'm back to being rescued. Expectations, right? So we recognize, examine, sit in silence, cut out expectations. So many times we have put expectations on ourselves that what it does is it stops us from making any progress. It stops us from taking what we want and actually put it into action. Because if we start adding all these expectations, then the idea is, well, we want to wait until we can do it right. We want to wait until it's perfect, or we know I want to wait until we see this the clear path, or if I can't do it this way, this is the way it's needed. This is the way it's required. Either way, but it's the expectations that it has to be good enough, that you don't know enough information, that you need more skill, that you need to wait until you're older, you're thinner, you have more impact, you have more influence, your kids are older, or all these expectations that once I can do this, those expectations are actually what they are the death of you. Those expectations are keeping you from doing anything. And not only that is they're making you miserable. Most of them are unreasonable in the first place. They may have started from a good place, but then after that, it just snowballs into something that is, well, not helpful at all. And so once we cut out expectations, then the fun part comes and we get to start to unlock possibilities. When you pluck those expectations and you toss them away, what becomes possible? That's when we get to put our creative hat on. That's when that time in silence, and you may want to do that again, is going to come into play here because you get creative. You get to play. You get to write out all of the possibilities. What could happen, good and bad. Don't just focus on all the negative things that can happen. If you're my Enneagram sixes, I know you're good at that. But let's not focus only on what could go wrong, because let's face it, how many times do things end up worst case scenario? And sure, you're like, Tammy, you don't know my life. My life is worst case scenario. Okay, but also, where are the good things? How are you self sabotaging? How are you expecting it to go the worst case scenario, which in turn actually causes it because the decisions you make or you don't go all in. So start unlocking possibilities. When I started looking at what I really wanted and then looked at like, okay, how can I impact women? How can I help them see that who God made them to be is actually perfect? That their strengths are their strengths, their weaknesses are to help because we need community, and that you have influence. When I started looking at like how can I do this, and how can I have my own business? How can I homeschool teenagers? How can I take care of land? I like when I started looking at things that I wanted, the only way that it could happen is if I added ands, if I added looked at all the possibilities and was like, okay, well, how can I do this? Well, with monthly membership, with a monthly workshops. And like it's fun to me. I love working with you. I love talking and interacting and helping you see other possibilities. I love helping you have that perspective shift. But if I would have just sat down and, like, kept going with my expectations and kept going with, um if I didn't recognize what I wanted and allowing myself to procrastinate, allowing myself to live a mediocre life, allowing myself to not take care of myself and think that I was, is it selfless of me to pour out more than I'm pouring in. No, I was getting burnt out. My body was taking the toll on that. That's not we're not martyrs. God doesn't want us to be a martyr. He wants us to help him. He doesn't need our help. He wants our help impacting. And how much easier is it to impact when you get out of your way? Get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. The next is E, encourage yourself. Your friends and family may not understand what's going on. They may not understand what's on your heart. Sometimes it's just between you and God. Sometimes you have to actually talk to a neutral third party to say, whether it's a pastor or another friend or something, to say, okay, this is what I feel. This is what's on my mind. This is how I'm getting in my own way, but this is what God has been placing on my heart. And you can get sound counsel with that. Because sometimes we have to look outside our circle because, again, our circle wants what's best for us. And what, from their perspective, it's to be out of discomfort. They don't want us to hurt. They don't want us to struggle. They don't want us to um, fail. They want us to be happy and to be whole, and they want us to be safe. But they don't realize how safety may be out of disobedience. Like that's maybe not the path. Maybe you have something in your heart that you're not supposed to be safe. Whether it's changing a parenting style, whether it's doing something that's a little crazy, whether it's finding a friend group that you can grow into. It doesn't have to be such a big thing. But if God puts it on our heart, then we really need to explore it. We need to see it through and we need to do it and see what becomes possible when we follow. The last one, because instead of, I did rescued because it's a it's a constant thing. So we are constantly rescuing ourselves. But this last one makes all the difference because just knowing and just having the information is not good enough. So the D in rescued is to determine to take action. Just one small action. At this point, when you recognize and examine, sit in silence, cut out expectations, unlock possibilities, and encourage yourself, you should have. If you do every one of those steps, I guarantee you know that small next step you need to take. And then just take that one. Again, if you are expecting yourself to add 400 habits and change your lifestyle and never eat sugar again and exercise, I'm going to start running marathons tomorrow. Unreal expectations. So go back to go back to C and cut those out. When you see that there's an expectation, analyze it, examine it. What part does it play? Is it a valid expectation? Because sometimes there are. Sometimes there are. Not every expectation is bad, but a majority of them are not helpful. So just to recap, R is recognize, E, examine, S, sit in silence, C, cut out expectations, U, unlock possibilities, E, encourage yourself, and D, determine to take action. It's really that simple. Life doesn't have to be complicated. Life is complicated enough that your action doesn't have to be. The more simple you make it, the easier, the more you break it down, the more your brain and your body and your motivation and your momentum and your willpower is like, I got you, girl. Let's do this. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to break it down to where it's a no-brainer, where it's so simple to do. And it's a lot easier than you expect. It's a lot easier than you think. The one thing that I would encourage you to do is get with a group of women who are all willing to look at themselves, to listen to their thoughts, and to grow. Listen to all the ones who are really excited about what God has coming for them, and partner together and go through this together. Like this is not a one and done. You have to be rescued every day. Every day. Every day I recognize, okay, what is going on inside of me? How can I examine what is next? What is stopping me? Why is it stopping me? What am I getting by allowing it to stop me? What becomes possible if I stop? If I push aside the procrastination, what becomes possible? And then I unlock those, and when you start making this a habit, it gets easier and easier and easier. And then you start laughing at the fact that when you're like, you feel procrastination or you're numbing out or you're not taking care of yourself and you realize what part it plays. And you're like, okay, something's going on. Something big is around the corner. Let me go ahead and see what's going on, break it down, take an action, and show my brain who's boss. Show God that I can be obedient and that I want to follow him, even if it's uncomfortable, because we do not grow in comfort. We do not grow, we don't get to experience life if we're comfortable. So many times people ask Tammy, how do you travel? Why do you travel? And part of it is because I like the growth. I love to see new places. And it's not just laying on the beach. I try to go places that I can learn the culture. I can see how other people live. I can unlock possibilities for myself because I see a different way of being. In Germany, Wi-Fi and cell service were not great. They were not great at all. And if there's a holiday, they turn off the Wi-Fi in all of the public places. And when I ask, they're like, "Well, it's a holiday. Why you don't need to work." And I thought that was such a beautiful thing. It was frustrating a little bit because I did not get done what I wanted to get done. But then I recognized that I was like, okay, well, rest is what's on the agenda here. So I get to write, I get to think, I get to sit in silence, and I get to see when I am disconnected what becomes possible. So even with this, because immediately I went to, I'm not going to be able to get done what I want to get done. Like I said 2 hours a day I can work while I'm on the trip. The kids are sleeping anyway, it'll be fine. But if I can't do that for 2 hours, then what can I do? And that's where sitting in silence and getting with God and saying, okay, this is your time. And it was such a beautiful time. I would have missed it if I would have sat and um, constantly searched. Like there were some times that we were searching for a decent cell service so we can use a hotspot. Like there, not to lie, there's many times like that. But we would do it for like 20 minutes instead of the 2 hours. We would do it once a week instead of 7 days a week. And we allowed the time, if we did not look at other possibilities, did not remove the expectations we made for ourselves, it would have been a really hard thing to do. So that's what I want you to check out. I want you to start thinking about, where are you getting in your own way? We already recognized how. So go to those lists and then take the homework you did, and then let's start to push it another step so you can now get out of your own way and get into action. Get into action, because this is where life really gets good. It really gets fun and it gets exciting, and you start to see things that you never saw before. You get to see yourself in a way that you've never seen before. All right, with that, I'm going to close. I'm going to give one more shameless plug for this membership group. And the reason why is because I know that there is so much information out there. And you know what steps to take. And we don't take them. What if it was easy? What if every month we just pick a small thing and work towards it? As one theme, and June is guilt. May was core values, and they build on each other. When you go through these and you really start to see who you are, who God created you to be, you can start to you spot those expectations that no longer need to be there. You see the impact that you're already making, and you start to see what's coming next. You start to put the puzzle pieces together and you see why God created you the way he did. And that's what I want this membership community to do. At the end of the month, the founder's price does go away. So you have just another week to get the founding members price. Your price will not go up for as long as you're in the membership. So if it goes to $5 million, you'll still be paying the $37. It's not going to get to $5 million, but just want to throw it out there. But it's going to get better and better. And the more we work together, the more we help each other, the more we start to look at what possibilities there are, the more we get to grow and we get to see and our impact multiplies. Because if I'm impacting women and you're impacting women and others, or not even just women, impacting families, it grows and grows. It's the ripple effect. And our small steps can lead to giant transformations for people around us. All we have to do is just get out of our own way. We just have to get rescued, and live and act and just get excited about it and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So if you want to join our membership, Discover You membership community, there is a link in the show notes. And I am just opening up the hub right now. I just finished building the shell of it. So all of the videos are there waiting for you. So I cannot wait to share that with you. And with that, friend, I will see you next week. Choose joy until joy chooses you. Bye for now.